So now we can take a few questions, Danny. So join us back and let's get going.
Hi. Yeah. All right. Awesome. We got a lot. We actually got a lot. We don't have a whole lot of time. We got like 5 minutes to answer some of these. You actually just answered one of them from Kevin Joyce. He said other plans to support existing support for hybrid / Azure only environments within the tool. So you kind of just covered that. Do you want to say it again just in case he didn't hear you?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, we do have plans in 2024 to expand and include all Azure AD tenants that you may have, Entra ID. And the cool thing about that is we'll be able to correlate between Active Directory and Azure AD. And we'll be looking at those hybrid cloud components as well. So Azure AD Connect, we already have configuration in there. We can look at Azure AD Connect and the issues around that. But we'll be able to expand and enhance that when we add the Azure AD side to it.
Yeah. Ryan, I am also Polish. I'm going to assume your last name is Polish. I won't even try to butcher it, but Ryan asks, and you also just answered this, Sean, how do you sign up for beta launch and cost? We just covered that, 35 and 25 if you're watching right now, trimarcvision.com. The website's brand new, and if you click on contact us, you will get a form that gets sent to me and then sent to Sean, and then that's how we set up our demos. Let's see here. There's so many. How are service accounts identified? From Sev wants to know how are service accounts identified.
Great question. So initially at early access launch, we are identifying service accounts based on the service principal name that's associated. So anything that has a spin is a service account. We have some other tricky things that we do at Trimarc that's a little bit secret saucy, but we have some ways that we automatically detect service accounts with pretty high fidelity. Again, things that are 1 versus 0 versus we don't know. We are going to be adding in some additional capability within Vision early 2024, Q1, Q2, which will enhance our ability to actually be able to definitively identify what a service account versus not.
Okay, Ashley gave us a whole bunch of questions. Ashley, I apologize. We're not going to get to all of them, but feel free to email myself or Sean later on, or just contact us through the website, and we'll be sure to answer all of your questions. But one of the last ones she did ask was, does AD need to be at a specific level for Vision to be able to interrogate it?
Great question. So I'm going to say no 2003 domain controllers and no 2003 force functional mode. That is 20 years old. You should not have that in your environment. I'm going to say that, but I believe we can actually still work in a force functional mode of 2003. But my technical team probably is yelling at me right now. So yeah, there are some minor limitations, but from that perspective, no, it shouldn't really matter. Every environment that we've assessed over the past number of years, including those that have 2003 force functional mode, we've still been able to assess. Just really get rid of those 2003 domain controllers. If you have them, there's really no reason for them to be there. And Danny, I'm happy to stay on a little extra to answer some questions. So that way, if anyone can continue joining us, we can definitely record this and provide some of these question and answers later as well. So
sure. I mean, you tell me when you want to tap out, boss, and
okay,
then
absolutely.
We'll go.
Let's go.
CK asks, how do you see the age of the data and whether the data was gathered interactively or offline?
Yeah, great question. So we're going to have an agent status page, which actually shows and represents the agents for each of the different forests, what server they're running on, the computer they're running on, the last time they checked in, the last time they had a data upload. So if that's data are current or if it's aging. So we'll have some iconography, I think is a thing or a phrase, which actually represents and shows you within it. So if stale data is aging out, you'll be able to see based on the icon will represent it in a way that makes sense in order to show the aging of that data, and that will also show if this is an offline mode versus a standard agent mode that is checking in regularly. So we absolutely will have that, as well as like an agent status, agent health type mode. We are planning as well to be able to have support for duplicate or redundant agents in the same Active Directory forest, though today it's not necessary.
Real quick, Alex just joined. Couldn't make the whole thing. Can I have a recording? Yes, the recording will be available for everybody.
Just for Alex. Just for Alex.
You know what, Alex, you ruined it for everybody else. You can have it. Only one, and you won the raffle. Yes, Alex, that will be available later. Let's see, pricing we've already covered. Connor, will it be affordable for single forest domains? 35K is what we covered. Plus, and if you're attending today, yeah. Yeah, so a 35K per single forest. John says good stuff. Thank you. Ashley asks again, can alerts be generated if new vulnerabilities? I'm sorry, the list keeps moving up. Can alerts be generated if new vulnerabilities are generated?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things we're working on as well as part of the API configuration is so the API can actually ping when there's a new critical that's identified. And we're also working within the UI for an alerting mechanism. We do see capability as vision is a platform for us. So we do see capability in the future as we're building this thing out. And I'll get kicked under the table by the developers because their foot reach is long and virtual. If I say too much about what's on our roadmap, but yeah, definitely we have a lot of plans, a lot of exciting things that we're working to do. We have so much that we are doing with Vision. Very excited with what we have today, but where we're headed is super exciting as well.
Do you have a plan? Do you have or plan to add force sync / check for agents in the future besides manually doing it?
Yeah, actually, that shouldn't be an issue. I don't know about a manual kind of like I want to kick it because I want to see what it shows today. Realistically, Vision is meant to or designed to run daily, but technically could run more frequently. We'll be doing some tuning as we work with customers of different sizes, and we really get this thing out there to see what that looks like. But what we're getting is an initial capture of that 80 configuration data, and then it's deltas after that. So realistically, the refresh cycle could be pretty light or pretty lightweight at that point. I will say that our team has been working with AD and assessing Active Directory for 7+ years now. So all of our tooling is custom, proprietary. We write it ourselves. We don't use any open source tools, any tools from anyone else. I'm a Microsoft certified master in Active Directory, so we've worked really closely to ensure that there's no impact on the environment of any of our assessment tools, whether it's Active Directory, Azure AD, or VMware. So I want to talk to like load and detection and things like that. Most of the time, security tools don't even see what we're doing because we're just using standard Microsoft API calls. Yeah, so it's, I forgot what the question was, but I added some additional things to that, so hopefully that answered it.
Let's see who else. We probably got time for a couple more. Is Vision a real-time view?
So it's not real time. This is something that has come up internally, and did we want Vision to be like a real time thing? First of all, it's not meant to identify like the current today. Well, it's meant to identify the today's situation and status of your Active Directory security posture across everything. It's not meant to be the moment-to-moment monitoring of where is that at. That may be something we move to and get it to the point where maybe instead of every 24 hours, it's running every 12 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours. And maybe that's something that will tune based on the size of the environment. That's something we've definitely talked about. But at this time, we are not going to be changing it so it's more frequent until such time that we notice that there are changes that happen that frequently. Based on what we believe that we've seen in testing and working with customers, is that a daily cycle is a good balance. But we do have some ability to tune that and some thoughts around even tuning it down to as little as 4 to 6 to 8 hours. So there's several cycles that get captured over the course of the day. And definitely we will have some score trending history as well, so that way you can see those scores go down, hopefully. So like cyber avocados, hopefully we'll go from 2,000 something down to like 800, 700, 600. So that way the security team and the AD team can have a celebration.
A couple different questions on how the risk score is calculated.
Mm-hmm. So the risk score is calculated based on our understanding, as I mentioned, of what attackers are doing, how the environment's configured. So basically, what is the issue, and what is the relative risk of an attacker leveraging that in a typical environment, and then how impactful is that thing that the attacker could do with that. So something like an environment where there is a Kerberistable account that's a member of domain admins that hasn't had a password that hasn't been changed in say 3 or 5 years, that's going to have one point value associated with it in an environment with a, say, a 10 or 12 character Active Directory password policy. But in another environment that has like a 7 character password policy, that risk rating is going to be higher. So effectively, behind the scenes, we have assigned point values to different elements, and then we do correlation across those elements, and those things actually stack on top of each other. So there's something we've been working on for the past year to get it right, and we're still working through to ensure that we dial that in correctly and accurately. We've been applying this risk ratings behind the scenes to some of the environments that we've assessed in order to kind of model it to make sure that we have it about right. But really, we're looking forward to working with all of you and seeing what kind of risk ratings we end up encountering and can make adjustments to see that we can dial it in just right. Because ultimately, any objective scoring does involve some tweaking over time because there's some things that can completely break that potentially. One of the things that's important to us in a driving factor is if you have a critical issue, then you should be a critical risk for your environment. And that critical issue needs to be resolved for it to drop down. So we have some things that will automatically, and the easier things that are really dialed in. There's a few nuances, like I said, where things stack in interesting ways that we're dialing in and getting figured out. And those are some things that we will be able to dial in and get a little more accurate down to like the 5, 3, 2%, 1% range versus maybe the 10 to 12 to 15% that we're probably in right now.
Still want to take a couple more, Sean?
Yeah, let's go. I'm pumped. I'm excited. This is great. I'm so happy I can talk about this finally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we really have been busting at the seams to be able to actually like interact with people about this. That's why. Also, FYI, we are a gold sponsor at ShmooCon this year in Washington, D.C., second week in January, and we're going to have all of this, and you'll be able to play with Vision live at ShmooCon. We'll have it accessible. You'll be able to see it from a mile away. So come and hang out with us at ShmooCon in Washington, D.C. There was Matt Seller asks, do you have a license concept for an MSP or consultant license who looks at many ad hoc environments, sometimes for short periods of time, versus an enterprise who might just be monitoring one environment?
Absolutely. It is in the works. Reach out to us. Let's talk. Trimarcvision.com. Go ahead and submit, Matt. Rochelle on our team is awesome. She will get you connected to the right folks on our team to have that conversation. We'll work through that. We have had conversations with MSPs, MSSPs about how Vision can add additional context to what they're doing. We're working on some stuff behind the scenes that we're looking at probably Q2, Q3 of 2024 that folks in the MSP and MSSP space are absolutely going to love about Vision because we can add additional context to the things that you're looking at anyway.
Does this, Chris asks, Chris Steven, does this support API or integration with a SIEM? Or, I'm sorry, your autocorrect really messed something up, Chris. I'm trying to decipher the last of it. Or is status changes? Anyway, first half, does this support API or integration with a SIEM?
So we do have API access for all the elements that you saw in the portal. So all that is accessible through the API. We are exploring how, as I mentioned with the MSP, MSSP, how we can provide additional context because we believe context is key. Providing the additional context about what's going on with Active Directory, not just the risk score, but how things are changing, as was asked and mentioned. Is there a way to identify if there's a new critical risk? That is something that we're definitely looking at in order to support that sort of scenario. Add additional context around who has what access where. More on that in 2024.
Let's see. So many really good questions in here. Connor asks, can we show health over time, like / progress? What type of month over month or year over year reporting is included in Vision?
Absolutely. So we're going to have all sorts of dashboards available as we get into, I believe, Q2, Q3. We're just trying to make sure that we get the right information dialed in that's going to be appropriate for your organization, what everyone's looking for. One of the coolest things about Trimarc being my company is I can make any of this be whatever I think will be best. And to me, the best thing we can do about Vision, this has been a process where we've been talking with existing customers, showing them what we're trying to do, getting their feedback, having them really look at what it is and adjust where we're going with it. So that way, when we get it launched, it's right and it's what you need and what you want. We're also trying to get it at a lower price point than what most would expect. We know that we could easily charge 50, 60, 70K or more per Active Directory Forest, or even like some companies, 100 or 200K for, you know, a few forests or one forest. But that's not what we're about. What we're trying to do here is make things better, improve things, and certainly get the situation where there's I think it's 3/4 or more of Active Directory environments that we assess have a critical rating or higher. Things like vision, we believe, will help make it easier for people to be able to get these things fixed, and the continuous monitoring of these environments and understanding of how best to fix these things, we feel will help raise the bar for attackers and make these environments more resilient.
Let's see, Ryan, you sly little minx. Will Trimarc AD security services be discounted if you're running Trimarc Vision? And I quote, wink, wink.
Yes, excuse me. I'm sorry, I can't answer that right now.
Yeah, very good. Let's go right over that. Definitely. What else do we have? Ken asks, can you tell us briefly about the operational security due diligence of the data stored within the platform?
Absolutely. So the fun thing about this is we are a security company that assesses a lot of other companies' environments. We've seen a lot of mistakes. I've hired a number of red teamers over the years, and everyone within the company has been looking at this, looking at it from the perspective of how could I attack it, which is a fun thing when you work with a bunch of hackers. So what we've looked at is the communication strategy between the agent and the server, which is using public-private key encryption. There are special keys that are involved to ensure that a single customer's data makes it to their single customer data repository. We're using encryption keys that we manage, not managed by the platform. Each customer has their own encryption key within their instance, within the Vision Cloud environment. And we are also separating the presentation component, which is the Vision portal and API that I showed you, with that data repository and processing area. So we expect that at some point someone's account that they use to log into their portal for Vision will get compromised. But that would not allow access or jumping in to look at all of the data. And when I say that account that is compromised by someone at some point, that's not an account that Trimarc manages. What we're using is a system where you can bring your own account from anything, whether it's Active Directory, Azure AD, Entra ID, Ping, Okta, wherever, whatever sort of account system that you have, your account will be able to connect into Vision. We'll get you onboarded where you use your account, your credentials to get into Vision through federation. So we're not going to be managing or storing any of that account information, but we'll be able to set it up so that you can access all the Vision information in the portal. But that will be separate, and we ensure that we have security across the entire environment, and we're going through the process of getting all of that certified and documented as well. We have quite a bit of documentation already, and we're happy to have those conversations and show you that we have done our due diligence to ensure the security and safety and integrity of the configuration data that we're using as part of the Vision system.
And we got time for one more, Sean. Can you report on remediation efficacy over time?
So can we report on remediation efficacy over time? Yes, that is something that we are working on, and it is a big question to ask, which is why I pause and hesitate in answering it, because there's a few different elements to that. It is something we're working on, and we recognize that there's a few different components to that, because just tracking the risk score going down over time doesn't necessarily report on the efficacy of the efforts that have been done, because all that's doing is identifying, okay, these are the issues that were there, they're not there anymore, and we don't see anything new. That doesn't necessarily say that the remediation has been effective. It just means that we have fixed some things, which, yes, is effective, but doesn't necessarily denote that there aren't other things that could be bringing it back up again over time. So that's something we've been working on, something that we've been thinking about, and we do have plans on implementing that in a phased approach in 2024, I think through Q2, Q3. So definitely there are aspects that we're doing there, including a way to ensure that the folks that have been doing this work have something that they can show their managers and go, hey, these are all the things I did, and this has lowered the score within this environment. So more on that later. Great question.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, again, we're all out of time for right now. Ashley, you've got some other ones, which I think we've answered in some other ways about how we secure our data and stuff like that. But we're going to keep having these conversations, and I guarantee you we're going to have more Vision webcasts as we come to the lead up, especially coming up to SHMU. I personally have a lot of stuff on the burner for content coming out about Vision. For my part, I'll give Sean the final word. All of our, so go to trimarcvision.com. You can see some of our videos and stuff. A lot of the demo stuff that Sean has showed you today is up on trimarcvision.com. All of our content, our webcast, our blogs, all that stuff is up on hub.trimarcsecurity.com. And of course, all of our professional services are up on trimarcsecurity.com. You can sign up for our newsletter. If you registered for this webinar, we asked you if you would, well, two separate questions. Do you want to be signed up for our newsletter, yes or no? And do you want more information about our services? We honor both of those questions. You can say one to no and yes to the other, or no to one and yes to the other. So if you signed up, you'll get you signed up for that. And I will give a final word to our founder and CTO, Sean Metcalf.
Great. Thanks, Danny. Thank you all for joining us. Like I said, I'm very excited about what we're doing with Vision. It's been a 2-year+ journey that we've been working on this. Members of our team, our identity security team, our Active Directory security folks, our development team have been hard at work getting this put together, working nights and weekends over the past months to get final checks and things ready for our early access launch at January 12th. So we're really excited about your questions. If you're going to be at SHMUCon, come out and visit our booth, come and see us. Vision is taking over our booth. It'll look completely different. And you can come over and as Danny said, actually play with it. Get into the system, check it out, see what things are going on. And yeah, we're looking forward to it. Go to trimarcvision.com if you want to learn more, if you have more questions. We are more than happy to talk to you. We want to talk to all of you. And we will see you again in the new year with Vision being active and launched, and very excited to continue to work with our wonderful customers as well as our wonderful customers that we haven't met yet. So thank you all for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.